Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video we're going to be going over the preliminary patch notes for Final Fantasy XIV's next expansion, Stormblood. Right now we're waiting on the early access period to begin. From this recording, we have about just about under 12 hours to go. So I'm going to get through this as quickly as possible, and then I'm going to go to sleep, because I need my 8 hours, or, well, this. But anyway, just got back from E3, so I'm kind of tired anyway. Let's get into this, though, because you guys don't need to hear about that in this video. So a couple of things. We're definitely going to miss some of the small aspects some of you might be excited about. Of course, talk about them in the comment section and make fun of me for missing them. Second of all, the job actions are not in the patch notes. They're in a separate job guide, plus there's been some data mining of what the abilities actually have, and I may just pull that up depending on if the job guide is live after I'm done recording this video. Guess I got to do 2 videos, never mind. All the recipes are also not in here, so the patch notes actually weren't that hard to digest. It was a lot of information, a lot of awesome changes, and I think you'll all enjoy seeing what it is that they've brought, especially a lot of the quality of life stuff. Fate stuff I'm particularly excited for. So most of the stuff that's accompanied with pictures, unless it's something that we really need to talk about, like new areas, you guys will see all these areas in the game, and they'll look better than they do in a screenshot. So we're not going to sit here and talk about them. We'll talk about the names of the areas, the fringes, the peaks, the locks. Those are going to be all of the Alamigan areas. Then over in Kugane, we have the Ruby Sea, we have Yanja, and we have the Azim Steppe, the zone I'm looking forward to the most, all of which look beautiful. We also have new city and field aetherites. They even added a mini aetherite to the Sapphire Avenue exchange in Ul'dah, which is going to be important for more than one reason, but it kind of just sucked not having one before, having to go to the Adventurers Guild and running back around. For unlocking maps, you also get more EXP than you used to. Not really a big deal, but it's something that newer players can look forward to as you first go to the new areas in the game. New main scenario quests, they're not going to give us the names. It does start in the Rising Stones, however. That's where I personally logged out, since I'm going to be rushing the main story on my monk. That is what the current plan is. Also, some new side quests you have here. NPCs associated with those quests have moved. New job quests, we see Vidargelt. I think it's good that they immediately showed him, because that's a character that I'm interested in the most. And here's where you'll need to go for all of your individual quests. So if you're looking for this information, please look at the patch notes. It will let you know where your next level 60 job quest is. We're not going to go over all of that right here, though. It's too specific. Reminder, you also don't need subclasses anymore to unlock new jobs. So if you have a friend joining the game, you no longer need to tell them to level that second class to 15. That's not part of unlocking jobs anymore. New class quests as well. Now, class quests, meaning crafters and gatherers, these are disciples of hand and land. So again, if you're looking for the level 60 hand or land quests to move up with your crafters and gatherers, be sure to, again, look at the patch notes. They also increased the rewards, or have adjusted the rewards for the main scenario, and increased the amount of EXP that main scenario and job quests reward. Looking forward to that, because they said they were going to cut out a lot of the filler quests and make it so that it was mostly just main story and what was important to you while you were leveling, and less of the whole million fetch quests thing. They also made sure, and I'm good to see they actually took the right precautions, a lot of the stuff people were trying to abuse, quote-unquote, for level 60 to 70, just some quick leveling like leave quests, handing them in before, or Moogle Beast tribes. A lot of those have been reduced after level 60, so you don't have to worry about a lot of that stuff. We haven't gotten to it yet. Also, you will be able to get experience points from level 60 dungeons, something we didn't have for Heaven's Word for level 50 dungeons right away. They had to add that in 3.1, so good to see we'll have that immediately, and that they learned their lesson. New leaves, of course, no one's surprised by that. What's it called? Yeah, here's the greatly reduced thing we just mentioned. And EXP for botany and minor fieldcraft leaves has been increased. So not just collectibles from 60 to 70, or even just, I guess, the leveling process overall. New fates have been added. That's the Ixion one. And this is exciting, because now we get to talk about fates. I know those two things don't usually go together in a sentence, but bear with me. So some fates are just going to be straight up flagged for EXP bonuses on occasion. Just when a fate spawns, sometimes it's worth an EXP bonus. It'll just give you more, and it'll also say it on your actual minimap. If you hover over a fate, it'll let you know if the fate that you're hovering over has an EXP bonus applied. So you can target those fates as opposed to grabbing every fate in the area and then missing out on a bunch. You can prioritize the ones that are worth bonus experience. It also shows it in your recommendations. The ones that have the EXP menu next to it means they're flagged as well. Also, the Twist of Fate buff. Now, this was actually in the leaked patch notes, so I guess those leaked patch notes that I said there's no way they would be right were actually correct, so my apologies. Basically, an enemy like this will sometimes spawn in a Fate. Again, it can spawn at any point. And if you kill it and then participate in the Fate, of course, then you'll get a buff called the Twist of Fate buff, which increases the amount of EXP you get from Fates for a time dramatically. So again, they're trying to bring Fates back as a viable leveling method so people don't feel trapped in Palace of the Dead and really hating themselves for 50 to 60 on Samurai and Red Mage, and for your secondary jobs as well. You should see a very lively open world for the first several months of the expansion just because of things like this. Even after that, I wouldn't be surprised if people sort of move into Fates as sort of like something that's a little bit more solo approachable than Palace of the Dead, not needing to rely on other people as much. Now, the difficulty for Fates, I like this adjustment as well. So the way that Fates currently work is it looks at a Fate, and it looks at how many people participated in the Fate the last time the Fate spawned. And it'll then scale that Fate to the rest of the, the next spawn for that Fate. Now, it basically looks at an area, and it says, okay, how many people have completed Fates in this area, all the Fates around, all the Fates that are part of this area, and let's say 5 people participate in one Fate. All the rest of the Fates in the zone are going to scale as if 5 people are doing them. 0 people are doing them, all the Fates in the area are going to scale as if 0 people are doing them, which means as a solo person, you should be able to reasonably take on any Fate other than the super boss Fates or things where you don't have enough sustained healing in order to take on bosses and such. You also won't need to level sync for things like Odin and Behemoth now, so they're going to die very fast. They also increased the time limit for the Fates for Core Regina. I don't know, I don't like the Core Regina. Fates. Treasure hunting. The 2 new maps are Gagana Skin and Gazelle Skin. So which one's which? I don't know. I'm sure the data miners could tell me. You'll also be level capped to 60 when entering the Aquapolis. In case you guys didn't know, in patch 4.05, which is when Savage Omega launches, a level 70 version of the Aquapolis, with a much longer name, will be released with updated rewards and updated mechanics. So please look forward to that about 4 weeks after we get through the launch. We have some new, items for supply and provisioning missions as we've leveled up. There's new stuff you can make with the company workshop, like the Carbuncle House. Players will no longer receive EXP bonuses when contributing materials designated below level 60. So you can't power level using free company crafting, something that they're definitely, again, trying to stay keen on. I actually missed that the first time I read through this. Level of the following items for contributing to company crafting has been increased from 59 to 60. Free company chest in Ralgar's region Kugane. The new job symbols are available. And an explanation of automatic transfer of the master rank has been added to the OIC administrator for those who need to actually make that transfer. The new housing area, Shirogane. Now, this will not be available at launch. You will not be able to buy houses until an unannounced date, unless it says it's somewhere down here. The quest you're going to need to do is I Dream of Shirogane. I think this gives you the ability to use the Ethernets to go directly in there. Please know that players will only be able to visit the first ward, and the sales will be in the future updates. You can go to the ward now to get an idea of where you want to buy your house when the housing becomes available here, but expect probably 2 to 4 weeks for the housing to actually become available in Shirogane, so you have a little bit of time to save up gil before that becomes live. Also, don't forget there's new apartments there as well. They're also doubling the amount of furnishings you can have for private chambers, apartments, mansions, houses, cottages, just everything. This is inside the estate, not on the outside. The outside, they said they haven't been able to change yet, but they're looking into it, so they'll see what they can do. 40 or more interactive furnishings are near a character. Only the 40 closest will be displayed, so keep that in mind. New furnishings have been added, of course. New orchestrion furnishing, a table orchestrion. I'm sure we'll have new orchestrion rolls. New paintings. You also have the easel that have been added. Flower pots. There's a new striking dummy, level 71 right there, which looks pretty badass. New aquarium fishes. There's a puffer fish right there. New interiors, new paintings. Again, all this stuff. Plants that are ready to harvest will no longer wither, so you don't have to worry about missing your harvests now when you're gardening. You can use crafting facilities up to level 60 now, and the display of indoor and outdoor furnishings has been adjusted. New items can be added to the inventory from the housing merchant, and new items have been added to the Curious Crop Exchange. So those of you who are big into housing and gardening and all that stuff, be sure to check all those NPCs out to make sure you have a full grasp of what it is they now offer. The new MGP prizes we mentioned in an earlier video, the Senor Sabotender weapons. So if you're looking for some fancy new stuff to spend MGP on for your glamour, this will be another option. New Triple Triad cards, new NPCs. Players now have more available Triple Triad areas, of course, with the new zones coming out. That's kind of expected. Sightseeing logs for Stormblood. Now, these are the first set, the first 45. These actually give experience points. Wait, is this only? Yeah. Okay, page 8. Okay, just wanted to make sure because I realized it said 0 out of 45. I didn't know if it was just talking about that page or if it was talking about, all of them all together, and there was 9 pages of Stormblood sightseeing logs, but that's not the case. These give experience points, so if you see one of these in the open world marked with like a little orb, try and do like a lookout or something near it. It's just some bonus EXP for you to grab and some background lore for the world, like this one's in the Fringes, for example. You're also gonna have to make sure you do the sightseeing log quest, so go out of your way and do that. I'd recommend it. They added spearfishing to the challenge log. It's pretty straightforward. They also changed the rewards for some of the PvP ones, which we'll get into a little bit later. Time remaining to complete objectives for the weekly reset will now be displayed in the challenge log itself and not just in the timer's menu, from what I understand. And it'll actually no longer display in the timer's menu if I had just scrolled down a little bit. Experience points awarded upon completing challenge logs has been increased. It was scaled with percentage. I'd imagine that it's just going to continue to scale with percentage going into the higher levels. So if it was 10% of a level before, I'd imagine it's still 10% of a level after level 60. They're just letting you know that it should continue to increase as the amount of EXP you need increases as well. Wondrous Tales has been adjusted. There's even going to be an additional column of rewards. So on top of the 1, 2, and 3 lines, I wonder if it's going to do like an X or something like that, because that's another common thing to do with a bingo line. And on top of that, the objectives will update when you hit 70. So you have things like the what's it called, the normal mode Susano, the normal mode Lakshmi, probably the new expert roulette at level 70, the 50 and 60 roulette, all those things that you'll get as you go up towards level 70. Check out weather forecasts. You can swim and dive. Of course, this is all stuff that we've known before. If you played any other MMO, you're pretty familiar with how that stuff works. Now, there's the speed of the ground mounts. This is something we've been over, so we won't spend much time. All the requirements here to unlock all the tier 1 speed increases for 2.0 and 3.0. Basically, if you complete Heaven's Word, you have access to enhanced speed in all the pre-4.0 areas. When it comes to enhancement number 2, which is the super speed, which only works in 2.0 and 3.0 areas. We will not have super speed in the 4.0 areas. What's it called? Yeah, we won't have the super enhancements in 4.0 areas, residential districts, or Idleshire. We still don't know how to unlock those. It just says there will be some way that is available. And then it doesn't tell us how. Probably some achievement. If you just check the achievement list, you'll probably find out pretty quick. Flying mounts, just some minor adjustments. Nothing all too major. When interacting with NPC, players will dismount automatically when hovering below a certain height. So even if you're a little bit off the ground when talking to an NPC, it'll now take you, dismount you. I would still like to interact with those NPCs without dismounting, but technology's not there yet, quote unquote. New hairstyles, certain appearances, new emotes, a pucker up emote, the emote where you lay out in the water and just kind of relax. Also, some of the H-Night emote is too soon. Level cap has been increased. If you didn't know that, Samurai and Red Mage also, brand new news right there. Just showing off the quests here. Both Ul'dah, both Samurai and Red Mage are unlocked in Ul'dah, so that new teleport may, just be there. I don't actually know if it's near the new teleport. One's in the steps of Null and one's in the steps of Thal, so one of them is likely there. The actions and traits, as you can see, they didn't include it at all. They just said please go read the job guide. It's scheduled for release same day as early as the preliminary patch notes, but I'll have to check after this video to see if it's there so we can talk about it. If not, I might just grab one of the things off Reddit, which is going over all the same information that we would get from that anyway. Again, same deal, substantial revisions have been made to the battle system. Mug no longer increases items dropped. We figured that if you've read the tooltips from any place recently. Sword Oath will now end upon logging out. This change will be reverted in a future update. It's kind of weird that that's even a thing and that they're going to revert it in the first place, but I guess it's just so you don't think you have an oath when you log in. I don't know. The new sprint animations, which we've been over, attribute points, the extra points have been removed, so Keeper's Hymns are not going to be sold anymore, and if you have any, they're worthless because you can't change points anymore because there aren't any. So Weakness got some changes. Weakness is now shorter and no longer decreases health, but it will more drastically decrease the amount of DPS and healing you do, especially when under the brink of death, because now it reduces your major stats, the 4 main stats of Strength, Dex, Int, and Mind, by 25% for regular weakness, though for a shorter duration, only 100 seconds. And then if you have brink of death, it's 50%. So pretty serious stuff, but you don't have to worry about, dying, being weakened, and then having less health anymore, and then just getting immediately curb stomped again. You at least have the same amount of health, so as long as you're playing the fight correctly after you've made that one mistake, you don't have to worry about repeat deaths, which should actually be a pretty decent quality of life. Just expect your DPS and your healing to take a pretty significant hit, especially when under brink of death. Now, player attribute adjustments are a pretty big thing. Calculation for attack power of jobs designated as tanks Their damage now scales off strength, though keep in mind you can no longer wear strength accessories as a tank. Accessories are now role locked, meaning only the melee DPS that use strength can use it. Ninja, Bard, and Machinist use dexterity, etc., etc. The calculation for magic attack power for jobs designated as healer has been adjusted. That just means that their damage now scales off mind. Parry attribute was changed to tenacity. That's a stat that only works on tanks. The more damage you deal, the more HP restored when you heal or when you are healed, and the less damage you take. So a very valuable stat, assuming it does, scale awfully once we get into the game. Accuracy was changed to direct hit, and your base accuracy is now 100% when hitting from behind. Actually, 100% from the front, 120% when on the rear, and 110% from the flanks. The higher the value, the higher the frequency in which your hits will be direct, which is just a little bit of bonus damage, like a mini crit, pretty much. Piety is no longer a main attribute, but it only applies to the healer role and affects players' maximum MP. Just to go back to direct hit real quick, it is not a DPS only stat. It will work if you use it on a tank or a healer. However, I do recall them mentioning that you would not have direct hit on your gear as a tank or a healer. Should you desire to obtain more though, putting some materia in your gear for direct hit will work on those jobs, at least according to the wording that's placed right here. Piety no longer is granted as a party bonus since it's no longer a main stat. Skill speed now affects auto attacks. That's actually pretty big for some of the jobs. Ninja is one that comes to mind because their gauge only increases with auto attacks. So we may see skill speed become a little bit more important on Ninja. We'll see if it outscales the rate at which your ninjutsu kind of is clipped by the GCD. I'd have to imagine it does though, because it gives you access to it a lot faster and should make for something interesting for ninjas to see what the breakpoints are or what is the target skill speed to see where it ends up. And for other jobs, it makes skill speed not as bad of a stat, although I still you still have to be concerned with consuming too much TP. That could still be a problem with skill speed. Determination has been buffed as well, so just as its effects, which are very similar to tenacity, minus a few certain key aspects. Obviously, the damage taken aspect isn't there. It should be a better stat than it was before, which is nice. Base potency modifier for critical hits has been reduced. Just means your crits won't be as crit heavy. It's just that they don't do as much damage. The multiplier on the damage from your base damage is not as high. Blocks and parries are no longer limited to attacks from the front. We knew this already. We went over in another video. So yes, enemies behind you, you can still block and parry them. And on top of that, blocking now works on magical damage, a change Paladins have been loving ever since they first heard about it from the live letter. And I'm looking forward to seeing how all of that works. All the materia and food that involves any of these stats has been adjusted. Accuracy materia turned to direct hit materia. Parry materia turned into tenacity materia. So if you log in, don't worry, those materias are safe, they're not worthless, they'll be automatically updated to be the new stats. Same with food, that's not going to disappear either. Starting attribute for all races have been adjusted. This is a nice little quality of life change. You can now see when if a buff can be removed or not. If it has this little blue line over it, it means that it's removable with Asuna, pretty much, or any other tool that removes debuffs. Whereas if it doesn't have the little blue line above it, you don't know. So it's a quality of life thing, so you actually know whether or not you can counter a mechanic. That'll be especially good for those of you who are going into raiding. If you're wondering, hey, the tank has this debuff, can I actually get rid of it? It's a very easy visual yes or no. This is the armory chest bonus. I think I mentioned that earlier. Yes, it will apply to all jobs under 60. New dungeon pictures. There's only 4 pictures, but we're pretty sure there's more than 4 dungeons. Although, with all the other stuff going on, who knows? But we're pretty sure there's more than 4 dungeons. I'm sure the data miners have already figured all that out. Another important change. So between levels 51 and 59 and 61 and 69, whenever you complete a dungeon, you'll automatically get 1 piece of gear equipable to your current class or job. And that's not including the gear that's actually dropped from the chest itself, which means that every time you complete a dungeon, you should get something that in theory you can use. Of course, you could maybe get the same chest piece twice. That being said, at least it's equipable to you and it's guaranteed to you. So even if you're someone who's like me, who uses things for desynthesis, and also, I don't know, maybe if you have it on you, maybe it'll detect that you already have the piece and it will not try to give you a duplicate piece, but it doesn't go that specific. It just means that when you're leveling up, getting some gear for your job by running the dungeons should be a hell of a lot more reliable. In accordance with the increase in level cap, players can now earn experience for level 60 dungeons and alliance raids. We went over that earlier. Echo is buffed in Alexander. We don't need to go over that. Susano and Lakshmi are here. Echo is applied to all the old trials. Your HP, MP, and TP are now restored when entering an instance. Detrimental effects are removed when entering an instance. And MP and TP are restored after a party has been incapacitated during a trial or raid. It was just a really minor inconvenience before when they changed everything except that. So it's really nice to have that now. So the first of the 2 new tomestones is becoming available. Of course, these are the uncapped tomestones. They are called Verity. They would basically be used to buy, and I don't want to say beginner gear for level 70s, but your artifact gear will be your beginner gear pretty much from your level 70 job quest. But after that, you'll want to move up to tomestones of Verity in order to get your next little item level boost. On top of that, in case you didn't know, they're going to continue using Poetics in the game. However, Poetics will now cover all the gear from level 50 to 60 that was bought with, you know, scripture and lore from before. You'll still keep all the scripture and lore you have now, and you'll be able to turn it into tomestones of Poetics, so you can use them for whatever reason you may. But that being said, just know that you're not going to be buying things with scripture and lore anymore. Let's see, Duty Finder has been adjusted. The Raid Finder is now part of the Duty Finder. It's not its own separate thing. You have 2 tabs at the top here, and if you want a regular duty, you go to regular duty. If you want the Raid Finder, you go to high-end duty. So that way it's not as annoying to have the 2 different menus, one of which doesn't even have a hotkey. I like this consolidation. It looks a lot nicer, and honestly, just makes more sense than it did before. Then there's a few other changes here, like Freelancer options always on. Players can use undersized party option to participate in duties introduced after the release of Heavensward. So yes, you can unsync things like Ravana and Thornton and stuff like that now. Alexander, of course, being another option. Language settings ignored for the feast. Item level requirements no longer apply to undersized when undersized is enabled. So even if you're undersized, then it just bypasses all the item level requirements that would otherwise be forced on you for an instance like that. Raid Finder only does the most recent content, which is nothing new. Here are all the tombstone rewards for the different roulettes. They're combining the level 50 and 60 roulette into a single one instead of keeping them separate. And the expert roulette, of course, is going to be our 2 highest level dungeons. Plus I don't know how they're going to do it with the odd numbered patch. We'll just have to wait to see if that 1 bonus dungeon gets thrown in with the 2 old ones. I'm not super optimistic about it, but we'll see how it actually ends up working. If it's just 1 dungeon, it's really not a roulette. It's already a coin flip. That's even less of a roulette. New enemy models, new hunts, you know, that's something you'll see and experience, or just new models that new enemies you may not be used to. On top of that, you have the regular and elite marks in the new areas, similar to the Centurio hunts that we had when you were leveling up before. At level 61, you can get veteran clan hunts, which you can use to level up as well. So every day, you should probably grab these to get some Centurio seals, which you'll probably want for level 70 stuff. And on top of that, it'll just give you some experience points, so you'll be able to use this to help your leveling process even more, as well as some of the other quality of life stuff we've mentioned already. The new Stone Sky Sea is here, the Circle of Answering. It's effectively the same thing, just with level 70 instance stuff, so no need to go into too much detail. Palace of the Dead, you can now use the cross-server Party Finder in order to queue up for Palace of the Dead. However, all the people must be in South Shroud still, so that's nice, and it's nice to finally be able to do that. They adjusted a few things, like new items were added, certain boss enemies have been adjusted. There's no mention of limiting your EXP gain to 60, so it seems like, in theory, you could continue to use Palace of the Dead after level 60. There's nothing here that suggests otherwise. It also doesn't say if your character will stop leveling at 60, but I have to imagine that they would. It would be strange if you could go to level 70, unless they were trying to sort of increase the viability of access to the upper floors, especially the ones with silver and gold trim sacks, which is where the new rewards were added. There's also a new sustaining potion, which gives you the effect of sustain, which should help you, just stay alive a lot better. Sustain, I think, is more directly HP regeneration, if I'm not mistaken, over time, since that's what it was for pets. But I know sustain has some different effects, like thinking to Final Fantasy XI or some of the other Final Fantasies. So it's not made 100% certain. But my first bet would be similar to the pet action, just for yourself for 15 seconds. The only problem is you have to buy them with Gelmorn Potsherds, and you're gonna have a hard time convincing me not to use Gelmorn Potsherds on materia, even with all the changes and probably with grade 5 materia being generally easier to get. No longer incur penalties when going through when changing jobs outside of sanctuaries. That's something we knew was coming. They changed a few names of PvP stuff. All the PvP changes are here. You only need to be level 30 to go into PvP now. You can level up in PvP, meaning like you can actually level up in PvE from doing PvP content. Another option you have from 50 to 60 is a Red Major Samurai if you want to get used to those in PvP, or from 60 to 70 as opposed to only having the options for Dungeons Fates. You have a lot of options now, and I highly recommend making use of all of them so that the process is less monotonous, especially for the first several weeks when people are mostly just doing their leveling up on like multiple jobs. They also got rid of a few matches. They kept Secure Season Shatter. They got rid of the Fold, which was the level 50 arena matches. They got rid of the Feast 4-on-4 Light Party, which was replaced with... they just straight up got rid of Light Party. If you want to do 4-on-4 now, it's pretty much ranked match. You only have the 8v8 as your training and the 4v4 as your ranked. So I'm not sure I 100% agree, but the less queues you have, the more populated those queues can be. So I kind of understand where they're going with that. And Slaughter was just completely removed. I guess they remember Slaughter everyone preferred because there was really no objectives other than the PvE stuff in the middle. So I guess they just figured it was probably best to get rid of it and introduce more interesting PvP modes like the one we're getting in 4.1. And then a bunch of adjustments. Now, a lot of the stuff we knew already, you know, level sync, item level sync don't matter. Gear doesn't matter anymore. All your stats are equalized based on role. Morale has been removed. Action presets have been removed. One thing that's interesting, though, is auto attacks, blocking, parrying, critical hits, and direct hits. None of it work in PvP. And there's a big reason for that. So the way PvP works is potency is really high, but 1 potency is equal to 1 damage in PvP. So if something says it has 8,000 potency, it does 8,000 damage. So it's very, very consistent. You'll never lose a match because someone got a lucky block or someone got a lucky parry. You'll always have an exact calculation, and it's probably easier for balancing for them. It's a little boring, in my opinion, to not have those elements in there, especially not even having auto attacks, which was probably the biggest shock to me. But we'll see how it pans out. It's just something that I kind of got to wait and see if it actually even ends up working. Spells can't even be interrupted when taking damage anymore, so I can already think of some jobs that are looking at that going, yes. So when you're CC'd, diminishing returns has changed. It looks like you get diminishing returns after a single hit. For how long, it doesn't say. But basically, if you're stunned, then stuns won't work on you for a short duration afterwards. So you should be able to have some freedom, and you don't have to worry about getting chain stun locked by like a paladin or something like that for 9 seconds straight. PvP also has all its own actions now. You can see a few of the monk ones right here. Somersault was still really strong. Riddle of Fire, Riddle of Wind. I'd imagine Riddle of Wind is just, yeah, because you have the wind tackle, so your shoulder tackle is automatically the double shoulder tackle in PvP, which is pretty nice since that's going to be the standard for them. Riddle of Fire and Riddle of Earth. I have to imagine that because Fist of Earth and Fist of Fire and all that aren't here, that those will just give you whatever, their own effect. They just don't compare them to PvE because PvP actions are entirely different. Even their other combo, because there's no positionals in PvP anymore either, the Snap Punch combo, I mean, this is pretty much just, you know, probably your high potency one and then your buff, and dot combo. I mean, again, maybe these actions work completely differently in PvP, you know, maybe they do, I don't know. But that would be my first guess based on that. You get to select 2 supplementary job actions, Muse, Purify, Safeguard, Bolt, which is the equivalent of Sprint. It is one of the 2 actions you would have to take. Concentrate, Enliven, and Recuperate, so you get to pick 2 of those. And you also get to pick 3 passives, like Increased Damage Dealt, Increased Action Speed, Increased TP Regeneration. So, you know, do with this what you will to do what you need to do to win the match. All this information, again, will be available in the job guide, so if we do that follow-up video, that's where that information will be. PvP hotbars completely separated from PvE hotbars, so no more double dipping on those and just it looking like a monstrosity. And there's far fewer actions in PvP anyway, so you should have a much easier time coming up with keybinds for some of this newer stuff. They've adjusted, you know, things like limit break gauge and HP and attack power. All the adrenaline rushes have their own icon, and their descriptions are now very exact in terms of potency, so you know exactly how much damage you'll be doing with each of them, or how much healing or damage reduction you'll be doing with each of them. Even your character profile changes in PvP into this new PvP profile, which should, again, help you sort of get an idea of what's going on. Your gear on the right has no effect, so there's no stat or anything here. It's just gear sets, and glamour, pretty much. There's even a new guide offering, what's it called? Even in Wolf's Den, you can't even use PvE actions anymore. You can't summon companions at the Wolf's Den pier to get, like, to get dueling stats or whatever people are using it for before. They changed the way that, you know, the amounts of stuff that you get, Poetics and Verity and Wolfmark. PvP EXP is not your PvE EXP, by the way. If we scroll down, it actually says that all PvP instances other than custom feast matches and duels will give you PvE experience points. Again, you can use this to level up if it's an option that you really want to go down. And I suspect some people will. You still can't talk in the feast, though. Here's all your quick chat options, so have a good time. Because that's, you know, that's still not a big fan of that change. Item level sync has been removed from duels because item level doesn't matter in duels anymore. Now, it's nice when you're in custom matches in your spectator mode. Again, super League of Legends inspired, and not only League, but definitely one of the big ones. It actually shows you the person's additional actions that they took. If you've played League, equivalent to showing summoner spells in the spectator client. I'm assuming it'll show when they're on cooldown as well, so you could sort of guess when they're going to become available, and it's good for shoutcasting purposes, especially because it gives you all the information you need to really draw a conclusion and say something intelligent while trying to follow all the action. On top of that, you do need to be above level 30 to do spectator modes, and soon you'll be able to do them with cross-world custom matches in 4.1. That's a big thing because that's how you do, you know, entire data center, you know, tournaments a little bit more efficiently, I feel. And then there are also just, you know, some NPCs now carry, you know, battle gear and weapons. I'd like to point out that because accuracy is no longer a problem, PvP gear priorly had no accuracy on it. Any of the stats, I don't know if any of that gear has stats. I need to, like, see it, like, whatever's data mined or when we get in game. If that doesn't have stats, ignore what I'm saying right now. If that stuff does end up having stats, don't be afraid to throw on PvP gear for PvE, because there's no morale, so there's no wasted stat. Even back before, morale wasn't really a wasted stat anymore with the changes they made several patches ago. And because accuracy isn't a problem, then you should be fine. It should all still have, you know, if it does have stats, I'd imagine it would have the updated stats. But who knows? We'll still have to wait and see. But don't be afraid to throw it on if you just have some wolf marks and you want to grab some item level for dungeons or stuff like that. New items have been added, new recipes. Certain recipes have been simplified. New recipes have been added to existing master recipe books. Samurai and Red Mage were added onto gear. You can't get Keeper of the Hymns. They added grade 6 materia. Attempts to affix grade 6 materia will always result in failure when using as the second or later materia in advanced materia melding. So that basically means you can't over meld it more than once. So if you, let's say you have 5, so this actually kind of increases the value of Wondrous Tales gear, because there is no advanced melding on Wondrous Tales gear, which I know isn't a great example because it's not raid quality, it's crafting quality, which is sort of like entry raid, but it is nice to keep that in mind if you do get your hands on some of that Wondrous Tales gear, that with this wording, it means you should be able to do 5 grade 6 materials. The only gear you could do 5 grade 6 materials in. Regular crafted gear, I'd imagine the maximum would be 3, because you wouldn't be able to do the remaining forbidden slots. It depends on which piece. Of course, accessories, the second slot would be the last one. And for raid gear, you can't even do advanced materia melding, so you would just be throwing on the 2 grade 6 materias, and that would be a wrap. We don't even know how to get grade 6 materia in the game just yet, so we'll have to wait and see how available grade 6 materia is in the first place. They're also getting rid of carbonized matter. You don't need it for melding anymore. So just if you have it, it's worthless. That's all you need to know. You still need it for the quests, the grade 1 carbonized material for class quests. That's been left in the game, but it doesn't work. It's literally just a class quest item at this point. They even reduced the cost for the materia melder NPC to affix materia. They changed the way a bunch of the stats worked for materia fixed gear for crafters as well. They changed the name of a few items. They, you know, following items will become tradable, no longer bought or sold, forever friends. Following icons have been changed for piety materia and dark matter. And emotes for the ballroom. Sound effects have been added to the draw action for certain weapons. Gear can be exchanged for Algan tomestones prior to 3.4. You can now desynthesize old gear. Grade 7 dark matter for repairing is now in the game. Still need those. Buying and selling price have been adjusted. New desynthesis cap. I'm excited for this. 320 is the maximum. I'd have to imagine that the level 70 vendor would have the item level 290 white grade gear. So those of you looking to level desynthesis, if you have a lot of money to spare, you'll probably end up buying a lot of it from NPCs, assuming that those are available. If you don't have items available from NPCs and you generally have less items to kind of work with from a pool, not only did they increase the rate of desynthesis, but if you have a patch, and also items from prior to patch 3.57 had their progression rates increased, but also if you have fewer items available for desynthesis, I think, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but you'll know, because if you're someone who does desynthesis, it'll be easier to level those ones up with fewer items, pretty much. And of course, Crafters Gatherers go up to level 70 as well. If you were ever doubting that, then there you go. So this I can't really talk about. They're adding a bunch of new things, like Hasty Touch 2 is level 61 action, and Rapid Synthesis 2. And you get all of these on any crafter. You also get 2 new traits. Gatherers had something similar added. They had a bunch of new actions added, grade 2 or grade 3 versions that they'll get as soon as they pass level 60. And then at level 69, you get 3 specialties, or you get Reinforce, Refurbish, or Reflect. And you need to get these from class quests, but these specialties are part of your specialist actions. So crafters, let me know how that ends up working, because I know a lot of people were not super excited with the specialist system, and I want to see if this more readily accomplishes what they wanted to accomplish in the first place with it. They also made some changes to some skills. I'm not going to get too into these. These are not really my wheelhouse, so I'm not very well qualified to talk about them and the changes and what they mean. You'll have to ask someone like Ash for a lot of this stuff. Spearfishing was added. There's a quest at level 61 for you to do it. Quick explanation of how it works. When you go to the teeming waters, which is equivalent to your gathering area, you wait for the bubbles to appear. It's a timed thing, and if you do it at the right time, you'll use your gig to spearfish. And so yeah, it's going to be a timing related thing. So just make sure that you're actually looking at the screen when you're doing spearfishing, as opposed to all the other gathering where you don't bother looking at the screen. Let's see. Different gigs allow you to get a larger variety of fish. That's your gig is your offhand, which gives you more GP, more stats. So that's what they've been waiting for, is an offhand for fishing. And on top of that, we have all the new actions for gatherers, as you can see here. Well, these are your spearfishing actions for fishing in particular. Shark Eye, Gig Head, Fathom, all that stuff. Fish Whisperer. Miner got a few new actions and traits, a bunch of them, obviously enhanced stealth, and GP regeneration's nice. I remember them mentioning they were going to give us that. Endless Toil of the Mountaineer, I'd imagine, means that it's just always there, as opposed to us needing to toggle it on and off, which is nice. Just a little quality of life stuff. You have Botany, and then you have Fishing as well, Mooch 2 and Double Hook. Most of your new actions seem to be spearfishing, whereas the other ones are, as they were. Bountiful Yield had its GP cost reduced. Bountiful Harvest, same deal. Utmost Caution was, it was buffed. It wasn't even really buffed. It's the same effect per GP. It's just that they doubled the amount of they doubled the effect and doubled the cost at the same time. So you just can't use it as a 100 cost, which, thinking to some of the rotations, I'm curious how that ends up working out, if it does work out the same. I think it pretty much does, because your action now goes from being 5 to being 0. I think they're just trying to keep it on multiples of 10, as opposed to you having like a 10-5 10-5 situation like we did before. So it should ultimately just mean that you're always working with multiples of 10 when you're gathering. Item wear has been increased from 5 to 10. Let's see. Now I've been talking a lot. My throat's starting to get a little dry. So excuse me if I start skipping a few more things here and there. I'm reading it. AAA records can now be obtained from all fishing spots in the fishing log. XP granted has been increased for fishers. You now use new actions. You use the following actions during mooching opportunities. Legendary nodes, new ones, but they'll no longer be displayed while you're in the midst of gathering. So you'll just, when you're not actually gathering, they'll appear though. The duration has been increased to 2 hours Eorzean time for Heavensward legendary nodes and whatnot. Time of day which they appear has been changed. They can now be found in both mornings and evenings. These are for legendary nodes, because the other nodes, the unspoiled nodes, were already twice a day, if I'm not mistaken. So legendary nodes are now also twice a day. Items gathered from ephemeral nodes are no longer hidden, so you don't have to worry about, unveiling them the first time. Let's see. Collectability of crafted items has been adjusted. Again, I'm not really that qualified to talk about a lot of this stuff, because I just don't dabble with it. So it's just, I sound kind of dumb when I try talking about it. Let's see. Probability of obtaining collectible items. Yeah, players can change specialties up to 3 times per week, which resets every Tuesday. Surprised they didn't go Thursday. That's the usual crafting reset. So, well, their choice, not mine. Crafting log got some updates. Some new things, special recipes, new filters. Position where the class icon displays has been changed. It's all the way at the top, as opposed to that box, that 4x2 box that it has. New gathering points, in case you didn't know. New fishing holes. You should kind of already know that. There's now House of Splendor's collectible appraisers in the main cities, as well as the locations you currently know where they are. Again, this is EXP that can be gained from over level 60 delivering collectibles under level 60. So they're basically making it so you can't hand in a shit ton of collectible items to level up. If you were someone who was saving up a ton of collectible items, you'll still get some EXP. You'll just only get 10,000 each, and you need millions of EXP in order to actually level up with your collectibles. So not worth excuse me, nothing. excuse me. Let me take a sip of this apple juice right here. Hashtag unprofessional. But it won't be worth nearly as much as maybe you were hoping it was going to be worth. So, blue scripts have been removed from the game, and they're basically giving it the tombstone treatment. Blue scripts are gone. You can trade them up to red scripts for, I'd imagine, a limited time. And red scripts are now uncapped, and yellow scripts are the new capped script. So they did do the whole tombstone rotation like I expected them to. They just didn't do it every other patch like they did with tombstones. They waited a full 2 years before doing it. So, but the script system in itself otherwise mostly remained the same. I'd have to imagine that, what are they called? I don't know if it's mentioned here, if squadrons that say they bring back blue scripts will now all change to say red scripts. I don't see that mentioned anywhere here, but we'll have to wait and see. Also, yellow scripts are not going to be available for 2 weeks after launch, so keep that in mind as well. They changed the names for some of the special trader icons. Sorry, my nose itches a little bit. Level 50 weapons have been added to vendors and limits the limits of Gridania and Ul'dah. That way you don't need to go to Ishgard in order to grab those things. Same with level 60 weapons armor. Those are in Ishgard now, so if you want to grab some quick item level, you don't have to go to Kugane, for example, or Rhalgr's Reach. New mounts, that's what the new primal mounts look like, the wolves. So that's either Susanoo's or Lakshmi's, one of the two. And then you have this new armored warbear mount. You have what looks to be a raccoon, and you have a Chloe, a Chloe minion. I'd have to imagine that comes from the new Wondrous Tales rewards, so please look forward to it. New Chocobo bardings. I don't know about this first one, which has a Chocobo on it. I know they said Omega was going to have some Chocobo-related stuff, so maybe that's eventually down the line. This is almost definitely Lakshmi's Chocobo barding, and then we have to assume Susanoo has one as well. I don't think this is Susanoo's. I just don't think it is. And then we have a lot of system changes. This stuff is stuff I'm not going to get into all too much. In accordance with the addition of a new market board, reduced tax rates have been adjusted. Retainers had their level cap increased. They can be assigned to the new jobs. There's a whole bunch of rules and regulations. Let you know what country they're currently deployed in and stuff like that. Let's see. Retainer ventures have been adjusted. New objectives were added. And then all the random ones with like quick explorations have been adjusted, so they don't find unnecessary items. New achievements have been added. Achievement titles have been omitted to prevent spoilers. Feels bad, man. Extreme Primal Battles in 4.0 now count towards the 8-man achievements for the tank mounts, so pretty normal. Some of the achievements were reworded, as you can see. Sam I Am 1, for example, is for probably completing... You know, it's weird. If this is Sam I Am 1, you'd have to imagine that this is for the level 60 job quest. Maybe it's for like a level 64, 66 one. Maybe it's for the level 71. But either way, it's spoiler. It's, you know, question mark, question mark, question mark. We don't know the names of the quest. Unless it's the quest from earlier that they already told us the name for, and they just didn't bother to include it right there. Who knows? Let's see. Or maybe it's a level 60 job quest, because they only showed us where the level 50 ones were. So that might be it. They also changed the new adventure thing. They made it from Before the Dawn, which was 2.55, to Far Edge of Fate, which is 3.56. So you can also turn it on or off. Players who no longer have the status but fulfill the above requirements can turn it on with, what's it called? /NA status. It makes me laugh just when it's called NA status and not, you know, I know it's new adventure, like not new status or something like that. Camera mode, away from keyboard takes priority over camera mode. Job gauges have been added. You guys should know that. TP, the color of TP has been adjusted. Party Finder has been adjusted. The layout's been changed. The recruiter name, it's just easier to read. It's easier to see all the information that's being shown by the person who's posting to the Party Finder. You can also specify more things, like you're looking for practice, you're looking for loot. Will you welcome first timers? It's now more segregated in a sense. Like all the options that were together are now separated so people can search individually. You have your comments, you have conditions, you have the duty finder settings like undersized, minimum item level, and then you have, of course, your loot rules and your language. So it's just better now. It just looks better. It's now you can be far more specific with it. So if you really want exactly one thing, you can search for exactly that one thing, and there should be no sort of variation there unless someone's misusing the party finder. Players are now able to invite characters from the same world to join their cross-world party. That was annoying, having to tell people, hey, invite me. I'm already in the cross-world party, dude. You got to join through that because I can't invite you now. That's no longer a problem. The text for critical hits and direct hits. So direct hits, just slightly bigger text. Critical hits got 1 exclamation mark. And a direct crit, which is both of them proccing at the same time, is 2 exclamation marks. We got new way markers. So we have D, 1, and 2. So you can now spell dab, bad, or, you know, add numbers to it, whatever you want. The aggro list now shows you when enemies are casting. It's a little bit more space to take up on the screen, but it's going to look really nice, and it's going to be really good information-wise to keep track of which enemy is doing what. When one enemy maybe you're not targeting is charging up an AoE, just makes that information more useful to you. This is going over the role actions. We've been over that a million times. This is the group pose. Yoshi P showed this off in great detail. They even had a developer's blog post. Oh, and the world map will now change depending on where you are. This is the new map itself. Looks fantastic. Some people showed this off from the media tour. So it's just when you press the map button, it gives you a lot more information to hone in on and select the Aetherytes around for teleporting. What's it called? Is there an NPC in an area you cannot check on the map related to a quest you have accepted? The quest icon will now appear at the entrance to that area. So this is showing it for the Waking Sands, for example. It'll show that exactly this is in an area that is technically part of this zone, but is also in its own instance. The Rising Stones would probably be another good example of where you'll see that. It's good because House Fortemps led to a lot of problems in Heavensward because people didn't know they had a quest in House Fortemps and they would leave without accepting it. And it led to people not knowing where to, when they came back to the game, knowing where to get the next quest. So now with this plus the main scenario tracker, which we'll see down here, you should be able to, you should never get lost with the main story anymore, pretty much. It's going to be a lot harder in order to do that. Armoire categories have been added, so it's easier to keep track of those things for the few things you can actually put in the armoire. Let's see. Character window has been adjusted. Players can no longer allocate attribute points. We went over that earlier. Resistance tab was removed. It separates for classes jobs. It's now only 4 tabs at the top, so they've really consolidated more of this stuff. And because the resistance tab is gone, and also for classes jobs, you can now select Disciple of War Magic or Disciple of Hand or Land. That's probably with the addition of the 2 new jobs added. It also breaks apart all the jobs by role, so you're very clear about what it is each job is officially designated as, especially for limit break purposes. The new armory chest space, there's 10 new slots to every single one of these. 10 more weapon slots, 10 more head slots, body, hands, everything. And it looks beautiful. Also, 40 new inventory slots were added into your normal inventory, and 40 more will be added at a point later on, maybe 4.1 or sometime after that. They said they want to see how stable the new inventory space is. A 6th tab with 40 slots is now available. And on top of that, you have tab 1 and tab 2. So on the 2nd tab, 40 more slots will be added. And it also gives them more space on the full one. If they had more than another 40, like maybe down the line, maybe they add another 40 in like 5.0 or something, then you have this entire 2nd tab, which has 100 slots total for them to use. So it's very, very handy. Actually, more than, 100 slots. So let's see. Minion summon when you log out will now automatically be resummon when you log back in. I mean, that's nice, I suppose. Temple leaves and guild leaves now have their own categories in your journal. They showed the new dark matter. The durability of repairable gear is now shown as a percentage, which is nice because it's kind of, I don't know, I can't eyeball it all that well. I can just say it's low. That's all I can really tell. Even lets you know all the dark matters you actively have in your bag for repairing purposes. Materia melder was changed. They mentioned this kind of earlier. You can no longer even press the meld button when the rate is 0%. This is actually not that much different. It's updating for things like the new stats, as well as the fact that you don't need the carbonized matter anymore. So it's been removed from that menu. What else do we have here? Contact list lets you know what world people are in, which is very, very nice, and what instance they are in. The duty players were registered for when they joined your party. So let's see. Well, that's interesting. Contact list, a list of 50 players with whom. Oh, it's people you've partied with most recently and what server they are from. So if you want that information to form parties with them in the future, you have that information, or to reach out to them in some way, shape, or form. We know they're working on a lot more cross-world features, so that's definitely a good one I'm looking forward to when we have even more cross-world features available to us. Some changes to the HUD layout. You have your new UI elements, all system hotbars. You can, see which one you want. Enable draggable shortcuts, target. Display progress bar on the enmity list. That was the thing we showed earlier with the water sprite casting water. You can disable that if you don't like it. So if it's too much information or information you don't need it, just disable it. And then just all the other UI things they've added. They're just going over companion display name settings, and water refraction was added to effects if you're somebody who wants to go around with that. Number of macros you've saved has been increased by 100, so keep that in mind. Following actions added to the keybind. PlayStation 4 display settings have been adjusted. Let's see. Then you have the new acros for PvP actions. You have the PvP hotbar. You have PvP cross hotbar / add PvP trait, water flip, water float, mount speed, pucker up, eastern bow, and then just a few other things here. And then they just adjusted some of the old ones. Again, not going to go through everything individually here because it would take forever. Certain Logitech illuminated keyboards are now supported. Wow, Logitech needed their own patch. That's weird. The title logo has been changed. That's no surprise to anyone. Data center screen has been adjusted to make it easier to determine which data center is closest to you. That's kind of good information. DirectX 11 support is now under the config in the launcher, is now automatically set to Windows only. Samurai Red Mage has been added to the solo rankings for Palace of the Dead. Any achievement obtained while playing the game on PlayStation 4 will now be shown under your activities. The items players exchange for silver chocobo feathers have been adjusted. from the Recruiter Friend campaign. These items have been added to the Mog Station, and that is it. That is everything. I know it was a crazy long video, almost 50 minutes of me talking about this crap. But you know what? People asked me when it was coming, and I was not going to let you guys down. Obviously, I'm not done yet because I have to go get the, I have to go check for the job guide or for the data mined actions. One of the two. We'll see which one I'm doing the video on, but I'm going to get this rendered and posted because I want to get that job guide one done ASAP, and then I want to go to sleep. But anyway, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. And remember, we're going to be doing what we're calling the Stormblood 24/7 stream, where I am going to be taking shifts with my girlfriend and my one of my moderators, Tequila Shots, and we're going to be keeping the stream live for 24 hours for almost a full week. Calling it 24/7 because it sounds catchy, but it won't actually be a full 7 days because he's going to be leaving around the 5th, I think maybe 6th day. So, but it'll be really nice. We're going to have all the new stuff. I'm going to be skipping story quests. I don't know if he's going to be skipping story quests or if Mel's going to be skipping them. I don't think she really even cares about story quests. I'm going to be skipping the cutscenes more specifically. So if you don't want to be spoiled, come by the stream. You can use it as background noise while you grind or do fates or hang out while you level Red Mage or Samurai if you're not doing the story quests yet. Or just to be, you know, there and support the stream and be a part of the community and all that good stuff. So be sure to come by the stream. Or also be sure to have giveaways throughout the week. So you definitely don't want to miss that as well. And I got, of course, all the content coming to YouTube this week. It's going to be busy. It's going to be crazy. And I'm looking forward to it. But anyway, I'm going to go look for that job guide, see if it's available yet. So thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. And stay tuned because it's about to get crazy. All the Stormblood videos. I'll see you guys then. Till then, take care.